Can we go to the Vaqueros hotline, talk some Colin Simmons conversation with a good friend of the show?
Let's do it.
And my co-host on the Eyes on Texas podcast, multicast that we do once a week. You can find it on our YouTube page at The Horn, YouTube channel for Dave Campbell's Texas Football, also on iTunes and Spotify. Great episode this week and good conversation with our friend Mike Craven, senior writer, Dave Campbell's Texas Football. What's up, Mike?
How's it going, guys?
What's up, Mike?
Going good. Any chance you're going to Duncanville High School today, or are you going to watch from afar?
We have a guy who's full-time at recruiting at Dave Campbell's named Greg Powers, who's been in the industry for a long time. So I'm going to let Powers do that when I'm more on the college football side nowadays, so I don't have to chase around the recruiting as much as I used to.
Now, you did that for a long time with that Fab 55, and now you're working with Dave Campbell's Texas Football, so covering college football mostly, but obviously the recruiting and the high school element huge for you guys. How good is this Colin Simmons? And before we talk about where he may land, I mean, how good is he? You've ranked players for a long time. Where does he rank on your list of best ones you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, he's up there as a pure edge rusher. You know, I think one of the more interesting things about Duncanville and Galena Park North Shore is they play each other all the time. And so, you know, for 12, 13, 14 games out of the year, you know, those kids dominate. They don't see a lot of guys that are as equal as them that they'll see at the Power 5 level. And then at the 6A Division I state championship game, you see, you know, North Shore and Duncanville go up against each other. You get previews of college matchups, and you can kind of start to identify which guys stand out even in those situations. And if you go back and you watch last year's state championship win for Duncanville, the first time they got one over on North Shore, Colin Simmons is unquestionably the best player on the field. And there's like 23 other FBS prospects out there. So he's a really good football player who's played really high-level football. You know, at Duncanville, you're playing against, you know, a lot of future offensive linemen in the NFL. A couple of that, you know, have been on the Texas roster right now. And so he's tried and true. He's really good. He can get off the edge. He can do a little bit of everything for you. And I think if you look at Texas's roster, you know, that's probably the one spot where we're kind of questioning what they have there. So a big get if they're able to land him. And a kid who can probably come in and be a pass rushing specialist pretty quickly.
Mike Craven's with you. Go ahead, Rod.
Hey, Mike, let me ask you, when do you think the last time, if Texas, let's just assume Texas does get the commitment from Colin Simmons, when was the last time Texas recruited a defensive end or landed a defensive end prospect on his level, in your opinion? Did we go all the way back to Corey Redding? We talking about that? Where we at?
Yeah, I mean, if we're going just on ranking, Corey Redding, maybe a Sergio Kindle, you know, those kind of guys. You know, Joseph Osai became that dude. You know, I don't know if we thought he would become as good as he was just because he was so new to football. I mean, Osai didn't know what football was until he was 10 years old, you know, when he watched it with his uncle. And so I don't know if he was as polished as Colin is. But, yeah, I mean, a Corey Redding, Sergio Kindle, like those kind of guys. I mean, this is a legitimate 5-star top 10 player in the country, not just the state type of kid.
Well, and it's down to Texas and LSU reportedly, and Texas feels good. LSU has had a great visit. Colin has talked a lot about how much he loved Baton Rouge and the campus there, and he's playing the game too. He keeps putting out pictures in each one of the uniforms and messing with the fans and having fun with this. But you know, obviously it's a big one. You know, Brian Kelly at LSU. He got Harold Perkins out of the state of Texas last year, the number one player in the state, and he had an immediate impact at LSU. Texas, of course, got Anthony Hill Jr. from Denton Ryan, the consensus best player last year, and now here's this one. So now you have those two schools jockeying for the best player in 2024.
Yeah, I think what's important for the state is that, you know, we keep them inside the state, right? I mean, we all turn on the TV and watch Alabama win national championships, LSU win national championships, and you know, a lot of their best players are from Texas, Oklahoma the same way, and so you know, I think I've heard Rod talk about this as well. Like Mac Brown did a great job of kind of convincing these guys that you can come do something special for the state of Texas on the front of your jersey. Mm-hmm. And you know, if you come here and you do great things, you win a lot of football games, everybody's going to get paid, everybody's going to get theirs, and you're going to have a legacy that lasts way beyond your college years. And I think Sark is trying to build that same thing. He's using the pro model. He's using the pride of the state of Texas. He's trying to get, you know, kind of an all-star team together and go put Texas back on the map on the college football side, and landing guys like Colin Simmons and keeping them away from LSU, from Alabama, from Oklahoma are huge signs and are huge things for the state of Texas and for the University of Texas.
Hey, Mike, are you noticing that there's now more basically variety in the recruiting patterns for teams like Texas, even for teams in the state where they're going outside of the state now to fill more of those rosters up and to fill those voids? Are you just seeing that's nationalized recruiting now for everybody, or is that more of a big brand thing like for Texas and Texas A&M?
I think it's more for the big brands. I mean, if you're Texas Tech, if you're Baylor, if you're TCU, your bread and butter is still going to be the state of Texas, because you can kind of look outside your backyard and find so much talent that, maybe you'll go out of state for something that's really special, or a guy you had a relationship with at your previous stop. Like, say you were a cornerback coach and, before you were at Western Kentucky and you recruited this guy and he's from Ohio, and, maybe stuff like that happens. But I think if you're Texas and you're Texas A&M, you can cherry pick outside the state. But I still feel like if we go and we look at the best recruiting classes that Texas has ever signed, and not just on paper, like that 2019 class was supposed to be really good, but it blew up in everybody's face. And I would suggest one of the reasons is so many of those guys were from out of state. It's harder to keep guys through tough times when there's not a lot of ties to your program. I think Texas A&M found that out last year, where they had 30 guys, leave the program after basically just 1 year bids in College Station, that you need to find a reason to kind of get somebody to campus beyond just NIL money or playing time, but liking the university and wanting it to be home and feeling comfortable there. And I think you can keep in the transfer portal era, that's going to be more and more important. If you look at UTSA down the road, now they've won a lot of football games. I think Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, and Clemson are the only teams that have won more football games than them over the last 2 years. Nobody leaves. They've only had one guy leave for Power 5 football despite that, because the culture's good. Most of them are homegrown, and they're from there. A lot of them are I think it's like 45 of the 85 are San Antonio guys. So I do think there's an important element of that Texas and Texas A&M may be exempt from just because of how big their brands are. But the other schools in the state still have to rely on it a lot.
Yeah, Colin Simmons makes his decision 2 o'clock today, 6'2", 225 pounds, kind of in a Von Miller kind of mold, coming off the edge. It would be a comp for him if you watch him on film. Of course, he went to A&M. And has said all along he wants to stay close to home, which is why people feel pretty good about Texas. One of the things you said on the Eyes on Texas multicast the other night, Mike, that I perked me up. I mean, always you make great comments and good conversation about the Longhorns, but in observing other schools and programs around the state and around the country, Steve Sarkisian, is famous now for saying evolve or die, right, in college football. You cannot like the new rules and portals and NILs and realignment, but you either evolve or you're going to get left behind. You mentioned that you feel like Sark and his staff do the best job of, treating this like a business. Like it's let's help you get to the NFL. You can make some NIL money while you're here. You're going to love the university and the campus and the city. But Sark is embracing that opportunity to sell that message.
Yeah, I think he treats everybody in the room like a grown-up, and that's important in this day and age, right? Like the naivete is out the door. Like these guys are trying to make money now, and they're trying to make money by getting into the NFL. And, that's the real NIL, right? Like getting some money. Maybe there's some guys on campus that can get a lot of money, but most of the guys on campus, even at Texas, they're getting like, public school education teacher money, right? Which is nice when you're 18 years old, but it's not generational wealth. It's not setting anybody up for outside of college. The way you do that is developing at the 40 acres and then getting drafted by somebody and going to make millions of dollars. Like that is really the end goal here for all of these football players. And Sark, instead of like pretending that that's not true, is just leaning into it and going, hey, come here. We got the best assistant coaches. We're keeping them here. We're going to develop you. We're going to get you drafted. We're going to go win football games. And, oh, by the way, along the way in the city of Austin, we can put you in front of business leaders and people with a lot of money and a lot of connections that can help you while you're on campus, and they can help you after campus even if the football thing doesn't work out. And so I appreciate that with these college coaches. Like you meet – I'm in this industry. You meet a lot of these guys who are selling dreams, who are selling – what we would call wolf tickets, right? And like Sark is just not. He's just saying what it is. He's doing exactly what he's saying, and I find that to be refreshing in modern college football.
Is what it is, and I do like that mindset of Sark. I mean, evolve or die. I mean, it's like this is the rule. We're going to have to embrace it, and we'll see if it works out for Colin Simmons. Could there be, last question, Mike, could there be, I mean, last year when Arch Manning committed in the summertime, there was then a Pied Piper effect of other players signing. We know that there's a connection in Duncanville and all those schools through South Dallas. Could this, they have 15 commitments now. If Colin Simmons were to commit today, that'd be 16. Could we see a similar effect for the 2024 class?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. And then even beyond to the 2025 class, right? You start signing Jonte Cook, Colin Simmons, Byron Murphy, all those guys from South Dallas. Now you got DeSoto, Duncanville, Cedar Hill represented on your roster, Lancaster. Like you start getting into those areas. And all these guys grow up with each other. I mean, they're all 5-10 miles apart. They play Pop Warner football together. Their families know each other. The coaches know each other. And so once you get them on campus, especially if they're enjoying their time on campus, not just like having fun, but like getting better as football players and winning football games. And now when they go back home during the spring, or now when they go back home during the summer, they're talking guys on social media like, hey, come down here. We got something good going on down here. And so I think it all kind of lends on each other. I'd imagine, the Houston connection back in the day helped Babers make that decision, right, and feel more comfortable going in that locker room because you knew some dudes. And so I think that's the same for these guys in South Dallas, and all the credit in the world needs to go to Chris Gilbert. He laid the foundation for Sark on this one. He got him into that South Dallas corridor. He's now the tight end coach at North Texas, but he did a fantastic job as the high school relations guy and really helped build these inroads into Dallas, because if you notice, Texas A&M is dominating in Houston right now. And so if not for this success recruiting Dallas for Sark over the last couple of years, he would have had to go out of state even more than he did in general.
Yeah, and it's a coach coming in from out of state and without the Texas ties. Obviously, Jeff Banks had Texas ties, but most of his coaching staff had to build those, and Chris Gilbert did a great job. Longhorns, you just look at their recruiting class last year. Jonte Cook, DeSoto. Trey Wisner, DeSoto, Texas. Billy Walton from South Oak Cliff. Malik Muhammad, South Oak Cliff. Of course, then there was the kids from up in the Denton area and all over the Metroplex doing a great job. Hey, Craven, appreciate it, my friend. And we'll be watching today at 2 o'clock. Looking forward to the next multicast, and thanks for the visit this morning.
Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate you guys. Hope you all have a good time.
You too, brother.
Mike Craven is the senior writer at Dave Campbell's Texas Football.